It's Paul Marsh, and I am delighted to say that I have been joined by Huey Morgan, the original Fun Lovin Criminal. Huey, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I was so eager to do this interview. I've been waiting for 24 hours. I clicked on the Zoom link yesterday.
I saw, and then I had to double check myself. I thought, have I missed a day? What's going on?
It's funny. I rarely get interview requests over the last couple of years. This is like maybe the fourth or the fifth. So
No.
I was very eager.
Oh, man. Well, look, I love it, and thank you very much for that. I am eager as well because I am a massive, massive Fun Lovin Criminals fan. We'll get to that a little bit later. So I am overjoyed that not only are you doing a tour, but apparently we've got some new music coming from you.
Yeah, you do. I just signed a record deal with Townsend Music, and I'm going to be popping out an album this year. I think the single's probably going to be out in September. I'm just starting to track all that stuff now. So
So
it's a self-produced. I'm writing, arranging, producing, performing it. It's gonna be pretty cool, man. I got my band from the band I put together last year is gonna be recording it with me. It's gonna be great.
Well, so I was going to ask that, obviously, because when you did all your Fun Lovin Criminal stuff, I know that obviously you had the band. I know that you did a lot of it, but you had the rest of the band. So when you're recording this new album, is it solely you, and then the guys are coming with you on tour, or have they got input on the record as well?
Well, the way I kind of done it, I've written the songs and all that stuff. So I have all the material written, and the way I kind of want it to sound is how my band sounds. Because one of the things as a producer that I've always tried to do when you translate stuff from what goes on inside your head to how it feels to the people when they see you live. It's a long and involved process, and I've decided on this one to kind of take a lot of the red tape out of it and just try to record it as if it's going to sound. So I got four great musicians in my band, so I'm allowed to lean on them a little bit more than I could last couple times when I was in the Criminals. But I think it's going to be a record that's going to be produced along the lines of how the music should sound live.
I like that. I like that idea. So what's happened? Obviously, you've been doing so much over the last few years, and obviously radio, amongst many other things. What's happened to make you go, right, I missed this, and I want to go and do this again?
Well, I mean, my band broke up about 3 years ago, but none of the guys got the memo. The other dudes decided to kind of keep going, and for some reason got really angry at me about mentioning that they're not really legit doing it, right? And when that first thing happened, when the whole breakup happened, it really left a bad taste in my mouth. Aside from feeling betrayed and manipulated by these guys, they also went behind my back and trademarked the name
Ugh.
Fun Lovin Criminals. So to me, it wasn't a situation that I was ready to jump back into really quickly, if you know what I'm saying. I was hurt, frankly, I was hurt by the whole thing. So it took me a while to recalibrate and figure out what else I wanted to do. I mean, I've been writing fiction now for about 20 years. And, I just got a new literary agent over at the Blair Partnership. And I'm putting a book out that's a memoir that's coming out probably September, October. And I've been working on that. And through that introspection, I realized that, man, one of the things, probably the only thing that really makes my heart sing and makes me vibrate on a vibration that I feel is positive is making music. And about a year and a half ago, Alan McGee, the famous music manager, got in touch with me because he was approached by the two other guys from the band that broke up that I was in, that they wanted him to manage them. And he declined, saying, like, I managed the guy who's the Fun Lovin Criminal. And then he eventually got to me and asked me, hey, if you want to come and make music again, I'd really like to help you. And I was at a point where I was kind of realizing that myself, but obviously I had nobody to talk to because, when the band broke up, it was kind of a really bad situation where all the guys that worked with the band kind of stayed with the band because that's how they made their money, and it left me without a team around me. And so it took me a little time with Alan and his partner, Kevin, to put a band together, to figure out what the next steps would be. And, I went out and I did a one-man tour this autumn where it was just me and a guitar. And I went around, I spoke to people around the country to reintroduce myself to them because I thought it was kind of unceremonious the way the Fun Lovin Criminals just kind of like announced my departure, which was they just kind of did that and just kind of kept on moving like nothing happened, like the guy whose stories and sound and and vision behind the band left. And it just kind of, two guys from Leicester and the keyboard player.
You know what? I never understood that, because it's almost like, for example, Oasis, Noel and Liam departing, and Gem and Andy and the rest of the guys who were brought in at a later date anyway, continuing as Oasis. And you go, it's not Oasis.
Well, I mean, you know, what it was is and I can kind of see it from their standpoint. I mean, the way they engineered my departure or the new version of Fun Lovin Criminals was pretty underhanded, right? And, you know, I could call them all the names in the book, and frankly, sometimes I do, but today I'm feeling a little bit more gracious, right? And the way I look at it is they wanted to do this without me. So they are. And they engineered it so I couldn't legally call myself or have another band and call that band Fun Lovin Criminals, even though the whole was my idea back in the day. And I think it shows that they just wanted to kind of keep making money doing the same thing. I mean, they're not like the deepest of thinkers, and it's not like something I think they put the greatest amount of thought into. But when you go to kill the king, you got to kill the king, because if you don't, you're and that's kind of where they are right now. And you know, like I don't understand why they did it. I imagine they did it because they thought that it was going to be advantageous for them financially, because creatively we can see what they've done is nothing. No, there are no hit records since I've left, right?
No.
It's one of those things I don't really kind of understand what they're doing, and frankly, it's not my business to understand what they're doing. But what I'm doing is I'm getting back into playing my music, and I think the idea behind that is coming back from a redemption arc is really important, because, you know, I'm making a record that's going to be meeting people where they are. You know, I'm not going to come out with Scooby Snacks Point 2 and we're going to try to pretend that we're all 25 again, running around with no responsibilities. I mean, that's what the rest of the band are doing with their. But I thought it was more introspective if I was going to come back and make a record. And frankly, making a debut solo record at the age of 56 is a little more daunting than one would imagine, you know? So I wanted to talk about subjects and make music that people of a certain generation, a certain age, who have life responsibilities and a whole bunch of experience and a whole bunch of perspective can appreciate. And that's one of the things I think we don't have as people in our age group, is that we don't have musicians making music for us. We're always listening to like the young kids making their music and stuff, or the really old dudes like the Stones and shit battering out. But it seems like the people in our generation, when they do make music, they kind of aim for the commercially viable music rather than the stuff that actually connects with people. And ever since I was a kid, you know, my father left me and my mom, and I was really disconnected with the world. Music saved me, and making those connections with people from that very young age continues to now.
Do you know what? I did an interview a couple of weeks ago with Paul Rappaport, who is the former vice president of Columbia Records. And we were talking about the fact that he sees kids walking around wearing Pink Floyd T-shirts and Nirvana T-shirts and stuff like that. And he says to them, is it just because you like the T-shirt? And they're like, no. And not only do they name Smells Like Teen Spirit, but they're naming deeper cuts and B-sides and stuff like that. And they're saying these kids are into it. They don't want to listen to this, let's call it the TikTok music, you know, the 30 seconds of in and out and all of that. They want to listen to deeper stuff. And I think there's a massive gap in the music industry right now for that.
Well, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That is the case. And, you know, I have a couple of young people in my house, right? And my oldest young person is a boy who's just about to turn 14, who's into music and stuff. And you're right. They're spoon-fed this garbage, this sugary, calorie-ridden stuff, and the discerning mind goes, wait, this isn't what music's about. This isn't what it's about. And they find out the good. And I think there's plenty of people out there with the discerning minds, and that's who I'm making music for.
So you are about to go back out on the road. You're going to start your tour in Eastleigh on the 6th of May. You're then going on to Bournemouth on the 8th of May before finishing on the 31st of May in Southend. You must be really looking forward to getting out on the road.
Yeah, it's crazy exciting to be able to do this at this stage in my life, you know, and I don't use the word career because I don't have a career. I've just been trying to pay the rent, you know. And I think if you keep it in perspective like that, you don't get a big head. You don't start thinking you're Damon Albarn, you know. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to go out there. We're going to play the songs that people know me from, you know, all the good old Fun Lovin Criminals joints that I wrote. And we're going to be road testing a couple of the new joints as well. It's going to be a lot of fun for us as a band, too, because, you know, for me, it's really great playing with musicians of this caliber, you know. And, yeah, going out and doing that many gigs is just going to be an amazing experience. And it's also going to inform a lot of the new album as well.
Do you know what? I think we all, like you say, we love to hear Scooby Snacks. We love to hear Fun Lovin' Criminal tracks like that.
So do I, man. I'm talking to you from a house that Scooby Snacks bought.
Oh, there we go. That's what we like to hear. But I am so super, super excited about the new stuff. I want to see. And the other thing is, obviously, because you're a radio presenter yourself, you do Saturday mornings on 6. I want to hear, how your influence now, like you're talking about, creating music for, people of our generation. I want to hear how that has influenced you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's going to be one of those things that my subconscious will ooze into the mix, right? Yeah, it is. It's interesting because being on music radio every week, I do have to listen to a lot of music every week. And that does keep the love alive. I think that's a great way to put it, because I listen to a lot of new music. And, I hear a lot of people in my age group, a lot of boomers, I think we call ourselves now, right? A lot of the boomers are like, music isn't what it used to be. And maybe it isn't, but if you look hard enough, you'll find music that is definitely reminiscent of what music used to be, and maybe a little bit better sometimes. I find a lot of times if you have a preconceived idea of what you'll find it.
Well, talking of that, finding yourself, Come Find Yourself is 30 years next year. So 30 years ago, you would have been putting that together. Does that seem like a lifetime ago?
It does. I was just mentioning before, I wrote this limited memoir that's going to be coming out, and it takes place just around 30 years ago. It's from the time I got out of the Marines, when I was homeless, trying to put the band together and working all that stuff, to the band actually kind of taking off and making some money for us. So yeah, looking back on that period of my life was very, very difficult in a lot of ways, but very enlightening. There was a lot of cool stuff that went on back then, and it's one of those things that it's tempered with a little bit of hindsight. We were talking about how the group was really kind of not the way the band ended in a way that was really kind of unfortunate. But, one of the things I realized was that, one of the driving forces behind my life was my love of music. Right. And I think that transcends all the good times and the bad times. And even though I do talk about a lot of my mental health struggles in the book, I don't want it to be a downer kind of thing. It was one of those things that, despite all that stuff, I still was able to make that record, and that's kind of a testament to my mental toughness. I think, looking back on writing this book, right? I was going through a lot of things, mental health wise. I mean, like 5 or 6 different things that probably would have sidelined a lot of dudes. But yeah, I had this vision, and I had this, I guess I guess you call it pig-headedness, that I had to make this record or die trying. And I'm glad I did, because like I mentioned before, man, it's one of those albums that changed my life. And when I speak to people along the way and along my travels, I find a lot of my records were soundtracks to big moments in other people's lives. And that makes me really happy.
Well, I was just thinking to myself, obviously there are so many, the singles were huge, but even the deeper album cuts, I absolutely love them. But the question that I've got for you is, if you were going to include a cover on the album, what made you include Louis Armstrong's We Have All the Time in the World?
One of the things I was always conscious of when the band started putting stuff together was the idea of genuine entertainment and genuine showmanship. And when I would suggest cover songs, like we did an old standard called I'll Be Seeing You as well on the first record. And I don't know if it was probably on a B-side or something like that, but a lot of these standards were songs that I remembered being a kid that either my mom played for me or sang to me. And they meant a lot to me personally. And I thought that in doing those kind of traditional songs, maybe I can make a connection with people who had that similar experience, where their parents were instrumental in bringing them to music, to the altar of music, should I say.
And also you put your own spin on it, which again is so important, because I think anybody can just do a cover and do it the same, but to take the original and keep the basis of it, but put your own spin on it, is perfection.
Well, thank you. I think a lot of things we miss in artists is an authentic point of view. And that's what makes a good artist. If you listen to Nina Simone's version of I Love You, Porgy, it's completely different from what you would have seen in the stage play. And that's what makes an artist singular and unique. And I think that's important. If you're going to do a cover, don't do an exact cover. I mean, like, just, don't do that.
What's the point?
There's no artistic endeavor involved. I mean, if it's one of those things, like I remember back in the day, we were asked to record a version of Is She Really Going Out With Him by Joe Jackson for a film, Something About Mary. Remember that movie with Cameron Diaz? It was a huge film. And our manager at the time was such a numbskull. He was like, you know what? I don't know these Farley brothers. I don't know about this. We're not going to do it. But which just goes to show what kind of management we had early on. But it was one of those things where I got to the point to talk to somebody over at the studio, and I said, how do you want the cover? And they said, we want you to do it your way. Oh. And I thought that, and I was like, that's a great way to say, I want you to do a cover, but do it your way. And I think when you approach a song or a project and you're a band or a musician that has a voice, like a singular way of doing things, you're going to have to do it your way.
Amazing. I would love to hear that. And ironically, Joe Jackson is from Portsmouth, which is where we are.
Man, I love Joe Jackson. I once bought him a beer at Jackie's 60s, which was this transvestite bar in Manhattan back in the day. He was a lovely guy. He wasn't in transvestite mode or anything, but we were just at the bar, and I was like, oh, Joe Jackson, I'm buying you a drink, man.
I have to finish the interview by talking about something. If you go on our radio website, there's a little bio about us, and you ask you, all the generic questions about what's your favorite thing about the city and stuff like that. It says one of the questions is, what is your favorite gig? And my answer is Glastonbury 99, Sunday night. Lenny Kravitz, Fun Lovin Criminals, and Skunk Anansie. It's the most amazing night of my life.
Well, dude, that was a pretty amazing night for me personally as well, dude.
It was unreal. And in knowing that I was going to talk to you, I went back and watched it on YouTube as well, because luckily enough in this day and age, that's what you can do. And, you think to yourself, is it in my head? Am I over elaborating? And I watched it back on YouTube and it was still just as good.
Well, thanks, man. I remember right before we went on, me and Mackie were just kind of hanging out. I think we were puffing on some kind of jazz cigarette or something. And I looked at him and I said, Iron Man. And he went, yeah. And Fast, who is not really into heavy metal or didn't really know any of this stuff, was like, what? And we were like, Iron Man. Black Sabbath. He's like, what? We're like, follow me for the changes. He's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Way.
And we kind of went out there and winged that whole opening. Yeah, and I figured if you're going to go out on Glastonbury as well, I think we did Huey's acting school, right?
Oh, yes, and that was the other thing I was going to mention, because not only did you go out and just obviously smash all the music and all the big hits, the fact that you did skits in between, which is...
Yeah, I thought that was important as well. I thought that was important as well. Like I told you about old school entertainment, that was it. And funny enough, the guy who played one of the characters was Matteo Di Fontaine, who's in the band that I'm playing with now. He plays keyboards and all that stuff. Yeah. He was the original DJ in the band back in the day. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I remember there's a funny story about Lenny Kravitz that day. So we got there really early, because you do, right? And we were kind of barbecuing in front of our little dressing room area. And Michael Eavis came up on his golf cart, and we were like, hey, Michael Eavis, what's up? You want a hot dog? I think we were making sausages and peppers. That's what we were doing. And he was like, no, I just wanted to see if you guys were flexible in regards to like when you play. And we were like, Michael Eavis, we'll play now if you want. We were just happy to be here. It's Glastonbury. It's our first time ever here. We had a whole English crew. So they're like, yo, this is really amazing. And we were having a lot of fun. He's like, all right, cool. I'm glad you guys are cool. We're like, yeah, Michael Eavis, all good. So then he comes back about an hour later. And he goes, yeah, I just came back to let you know that we're not going to be changing the running order. And we're like, well, what happened? He goes, well, Lenny Kravitz was complaining because he's a lot more popular an artist than you guys are. And he wanted to go on after you rather than before you. And we were like, well, if you want him to, we don't care. It's fine with us. He's like, no. I told him that it's as the order is as it is. We were like, okay. So as the day progressed, right before Lenny went on, if you remember, it started raining like crazy. The clouds came in and it was downpour, right? He's out there, oh, you're going to go my way, with a bunch of rain hitting him. He's flicking his dreads all over the place, drenching his band and all that stuff in his wet dreads. And then as we come on, the clouds part, the sun comes out, and we opened up with Iron Man. Yeah, it was hilarious. But yo, check this out. So about a week or so later, I'm back in New York. And I used to work at these nightclubs, so I know all the bar staff and wait staff at all these clubs. And I'm at this one club, and Lenny Kravitz is at the same club at another table. So I call the waitress over, And I said, hey, do me a favor, get a bottle of beer, just one bottle of beer, put it in a champagne bucket, put a bunch of ice in there, get a bunch of champagne flutes, bring it over to Lenny Kravitz's table and tell him this is from Huey. He wants to thank you for opening up for him at Glastonbury. So the lady brought the beer over, and of course, Lenny's head flicks up, his dreads are flying all over the place like he was on stage looking for me. I see him, I'm, what's up, man?
Oh, that is just brilliant. That is absolutely amazing. And now listen, I love Lenny Kravitz. I've seen Lenny Kravitz a few times. And
I love him too, man. You just have to sometimes realize that some people get a little full of themselves at moments.
I have to say, with both of your performances on the evening, you guys, I love Lenny, but you guys topped it.
Well, I love Lenny too, but like I think sometimes I think everybody's guilty of it at some point, just getting a little bit ahead of themselves. And that was just a moment he had. But it's a funny story, though, isn't it?
Oh, that's brilliant. That is absolutely genius. I would have given anything to be a fly on the wall and seen that. I think that would have been fantastic. Listen, Huey, I have taken up enough of your time. Thank you so much for talking to me. I really do appreciate it. I cannot wait to see you on tour. It all starts on the 6th of May in Eastleigh before going on to Bournemouth on the 8th of May. And it finishes in Southend on the 31st of May. Huey, enjoy your tour. I'm looking forward to hearing new music. I can't wait to play it.
Well, thank you much, brother. I appreciate your time. And everybody out there, I hope to see you all at the gigs, and we'll have a great time together. God bless you all.